and have somebody feed him answers because he has no idea, because he won't be president for 3 months before the wonderful Kamala takes over with her. She's the most liberal person in the Senate. She's not a socialist. She's a step beyond socialism, as you know.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Oh my gosh, hold on for a minute.
I thought Mike was great. Legitimately, I don't mean because he's with me and he's my friend and he's done a great job as
he's my vice president, of course. I'm looking at this from an objective perspective.
We're really a good
No,
combination.
there's no partisan interest here. I genuinely thought that Mike Pence beat Kamala Harris.
He's a good person, and he was just, he couldn't believe some of the things she was saying. And he really didn't. He couldn't believe it, what she was saying. They lie. They lie so much. Like fracking. Him and her for a year, whatever the Democrat debate said, we are against fracking. We will, Biden says, we will never, ever see fracking, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. As soon as he gets the nomination, he has to center over a little bit. No, we want to go fracking. We'll be fracking. And her, too, even her. I mean, she's a super... Then they get beat up by AOC plus 3, you know, because they said, you never said that before. Now, the press gives them a pass. The reason they give them a pass is because they're fake. The news is fake, the enemy of the people. And the press gives them a pass. If I ever did that, I would be excoriated.
Let me ask you about the issue that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris refused to answer. That is about packing the United States Supreme Court, which would be a change that hasn't happened in 150 years.
Yeah, terrible thing.
And Joe Biden literally said today, and I honestly thought last night Kamala Harris would have a different answer. I thought when Mike Pence challenged her that she was going to say no, that they would not support it. That is, their non-answer is revealing. Joe Biden went further today and said, you'll know my position on court packing the day after the election. What's your reaction to that?
I think it was
but he said excoriated, I think.
It's so disrespectful.
I think he said excoriated, but excoriated is a word.
He should have said something and, you know, say, look, to the best of my knowledge, this is probably what I do. I think what he said was so disrespectful to the process and to the people. What he said then was just disgraceful. But what that means, really, is that they're going to do it, okay? Because obviously,
don't word shame. I should never. Who am I word shaming? No, you know, I can barely talk.
End the filibuster.
You know, I can barely talk with this piece of plastic in my mouth. Existential, by the way. Existential.
Because I said, Mitch, they're going to do it. If they ever got in, Schumer would do that on day one. I agree that what they did was
femininity.
You know, you take a look at what Mitch and some very good Republican senators did, because it's good for the country. But I said, here's the problem. If they ever got in, day one, this would be the first move they make, end the filibuster, the nuclear option, as they call it. And they'll do that in not a week will go by, probably not a day will go by. But again, Harry Reid did it. That's why we have so many judges. I want to thank you very much, Harry Reid, because Harry Reid, he ended the filibuster, and I'm going to have 300 judges by the time I finish.
Did he use excoriated in the correct context?
By the end of the first term.
Yeah, I think so.
Think of that. It's a record in the term. By the end of the first term, I'll have 300 judges, just about, you know, give or take a a couple.
Yeah, because he said that mainstream media gave Kamala Harris a pass, whereas they typically excoriate him. So yes, it was he used the word in the proper context.
Joe Biden,
unfortunately,
if he were elected president, would pack the courts.
Is that a real pepper?
He would support statehood for places like D.C. Whether or not he would support ending the filibuster.
There's full stop litigation now. Fuck reality. What do you mean?
Maybe pursue a constitutional amendment to abolish the Electoral College. To me, these are fundamental questions that he is refusing to answer. What is your answer to his non-answer? And the media, I think he's answered less than 100 questions since this whole campaign has started, which I think makes these two debates that are forthcoming even more important than any average presidential election year.
What's going on, Tori?
He's got a lot of non-answers. I mean, look at Second Amendment. You know, you never talk about Second Amendment. He wants to take away your guns 100%. He put Beto, he turned out to be. He was exposed by Ted Cruz and me. I think I helped a lot too, but he was exposed as a clown is much worse than that, but I want to be nice because it's a nice, evening show. But he was exposed as a clown. He wants to take away your guns. He's going to take away your Second Amendment. Nobody asks him about the Second Amendment anymore. Do you notice that the Second Amendment is very important? It's a big thing. So we campaigned on it. I protected this. If I weren't president,
you got to really be careful whenever you are running for office and you are experiencing gun violence. You are experiencing gun violence, right? Beto O'Rourke did say in an extremely impassioned speech that he was going to try to take away military-grade weaponry, AK-47, semi-automatics, all of those, because of the mass shooting in El Paso, which is where he is from originally. And the Republicans will hold that over Beto O'Rourke's head for the rest of his life.
Their one shot because what's going on is.
Hey, there it is. It's Peppy. Hey, Peppy, you're famous.
We will execute the baby after the baby's born. That's when you talk about late-term abortion. This is early-term execution.
Speaking of which, did you hear that the antibody cocktail that was given to Trump, pumped full of those experimental drugs, may or may not have included fetal cells from an abortion? Interesting, huh?
I don't think he'd know how to discuss it. But very importantly, a Second Amendment, though. They just don't discuss the Second Amendment. He's going to take your guns away. So everybody with a gun, you can't vote for him because you're not going to have your gun.
Beto O'Rourke was literally like, I'm going to push for a ban on semi-automatic weapons, military-grade weapons.
Your house at night because there are no cops around.
And it was calling to put an end to owning assault weapons, right? That's what he called for.
Of the suburbs, right? Women of the suburbs, they do or don't like Trump. I don't know, but what I've done is incredible for the suburbs. The suburbs are over.
Tested on fetal cells?
The suburbs will become more unsafe than the cities, run by the Democrats. And so I think I should do very well with suburban women because I'm the one that's protecting them, both in terms of law and order and in terms of zoning. They want to build low-income housing right next to your house. As the American dream is destroyed. But they don't talk about
Wait, did I say?
This. They don't talk to him about law and order. I said to him the other night.
Nonstop fool.
In the words law.
You know what? As much as I fumble my words and I get some things wrong, you know what? By comparison, the president of the United States of America is so much worse, as is the Democratic candidate for the president of the United States. So as much as I am trying really hard to hold myself to a specific standard and make sure that I am providing objective reporting and don't fuck up that reporting, I think to myself, well, God damn it. Listen to Donald Trump and Joe Biden just fumble through their recounting of anything. It's a low bar. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because I don't want to. It's just, I think about that and then I'm like, should I be so hard on myself? And then I have to tell myself, yes, don't be an idiot. Do better.
That you have yet to once condemn white supremacy.
There are no W.
I showed multiple instances when you have done just that. The neo-Nazis, David Duke, white supremacy, white nationalism, disavowing David Duke.
You aren't bad. You're just too hard on yourself. No, I mean, I can be kind of bad. Do better, behave.
Because they don't seem to get called out by the media on the fact that what they are saying is false.
And I condemn the people on the left like Antifa that are burning down your cities all summer long, okay? And without any control whatsoever. They're all Biden people, meaning not Biden. Biden's not smart enough to know what the hell it even is, but they're of that philosophy. And I condemn them very strongly, very, very strongly. It's not just the right, it's the left. But the left has been the problem for a long time. Antifa is a big, big problem. And, I see Whitmer today, she's complaining, but it was our Justice Department that arrested the people that she was complaining about. It was my Justice Department that arrested them. But instead, she goes and does her little political act, and she keeps her state closed, although we just won the big case, as you know, to open up Michigan.
Right.
Because what she's
right.
doing is a horrible
Right,
thing.
because right now, Gretchen Whitmer isn't trying to condemn the uprising of white supremacist and right-wing militia groups that we're seeing that are emboldened by Donald Trump. Oh no. Let's not lose sight as to why there was a band full of right-wing militias who tried to literally kidnap the governor of Michigan. Oh no. Let's remember that it was Donald Trump's federal agents doing their fucking job and stopping it from occurring. Okay, dude.
Which is one of the reasons that our economy has done so great, even now in this pandemic, which hopefully we're rounding the turn and we have incredible cures and
do you think this plays well with his base? Oh God, yeah, of course. Do you know who his base?
But I'll tell you what I took.
We're going to take a look at the Jordan Klepper video in a second, but I think that are we forgetting who Donald Trump's base is?
It's starting very soon.
Sorry,
the military is going to be delivering it.
But
he's looking to do big tax cuts, big tax increases, like at a level that's never been seen. Nobody's ever gotten the cuts that I got.
One of them was an
ANCAP ever given, as you know, Sean, better than probably most. But he's going to end those tax cuts.
No, they were Boogaloo Boys.
Them.
No?
And now people are going to pay $2,000 plus child tax credits.
I'm sorry
all
for
that.
being rude.
It's going to be a disaster for our country. It's going to put our country into a depression. And your 401ks are going to go down the tubes. And your jobs are going to go away.
Your jobs are already gone away.
And you're going to have a depression, the likes of which our country has never seen before, and that possibly includes 1929.
Mr. President, there has been articles out, and I would assume that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris not giving their position on court packing would be a national ad. I assume them both on record saying they would ban fracking would be an ad that would run in a lot of cycles in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Their website endorses the Green New Deal, and Joe Biden saying he would spend trillions of dollars on it and pledging that. What would the new Green Deal look like, in your view, if implemented as promised by both Joe Biden and as a co-sponsor with Kamala Harris in the U.S. Senate?
Well, it's a deal that was conceived of by not smart people, AOC plus 3 and others. I don't even think they had any experience in the environment. But this was a deal conceived of. And the real price is $100 trillion. That's more money that this country could make.
Yeah, I know, because giving a shit about the environment requires you to be the climate scientist who knows.
Take buildings down and rebuild them with tiny little windows.
Who understands the ins and outs of climate-related impacts.
The whole thing is so crazy.
And you can't just want to save the planet. Thanks, Ed Markey and AOC, you dummies.
And
hot take, Red Bull tastes like something you clean your toilet with.
Agreed to this with Crazy Bernie because, you know, they have the manifesto. They've agreed to most of these things. I think it tastes like acute renal failure. And it's going to cost more money. Our country will be a ninth world country, not a third world country, a ninth world country. We won't have energies. Look at what's happening with the rolling blackouts in California. Look at where California is going to have to ration water. You know why? Because they send millions of gallons of water out to sea, out to the Pacific, because they want to take care of certain little tiny fish that aren't doing very well without water, to be honest with you.
What the fuck is he talking about? Ninth world country, tiny little fish? What is wrong with him?
I talk about, I was with Governor Newsom. I get along with him very well. We disagree on a lot of things, but I get along with him. Number one, you should let water come down from the north and accept it instead of throwing it out to the Pacific. But you also have to have forest management. We send them so much money. I don't have to, but I want to help California. But they have the biggest forest fires because they don't manage their land. They don't have separators. They have trees that have been laying on the ground that are stone cold, dead, dry, like a matchstick. And you throw a cigarette butt on between the leaves and the trees, everything catches on fire, and you lose 200,000 acres in a short period of time. They got to manage their forests, and if they manage their forests, you're going to not see the forest fires.
Mr.
California
President,
has some
the
of the
Heritage
best,
Foundation identified
has
nearly
some of the
1,000
best
convictions on voting
wildfire-related
fraud.
plans that I've ever read.
You have expressed many times your concern about some of the changing laws and rules.
Not that I know like everything
and
about
have
wildfire
spoken
forest
negatively,
management.
About these changes, but with
The only
that
thing that
said,
they're really lacking is like the
a lot of states have
technology.
now begun early voting.
They lack
Some
technology
will be starting in a
to
week or two.
try to predict
Will you encourage your
wildfires
supporters to get
through
out and vote
running
early?
series of simulations that they should do, and
I
trying
will say
to
this,
be
absentee is
proactive
okay.
in trying to eliminate
Because
fires from
absentee
even
ballots-
spreading by trying to control for them by
Excuse me.
running series
Absentee
upon
ballots
series upon
are
series
fine.
of simulations.
Because absentee
That
ballots,
part of that
you
technology
request,
already exists
you
with
ask
GIS.
for a ballot, and you request, and that's it. Absentee ballots are absolutely fine. You request them, you fill them in, you send them back in. But these unsolicited ballots, universal unsolicited ballots, Sean, it's going to be a disaster, the likes of which we've never seen. We will never have seen.
Why are
an
you all
election
losing his mind that he
like what's
coughed?
going to
He
take
has
place.
COVID.
Thousands of
He
ballots
has. We
all
know
over
that
the
he has
country are being
contracted COVID.
reported.
Everyone.
Some thrown in garbage cans with my name on them. Some thrown in trays in a river.
Controlled burning.
What's going on is absolutely crazy. We have people watching. We have U.S. attorneys watching. We have sheriffs watching. We have U.S. marshals watching.
With that
But with
said,
all of
then,
that, you're talking about millions of ballots are being sent
Donald
out.
Trump is over here
With
coughing
that
up,
said,
coughing up a lung like
it-
he's
it's
COVID-19.
in person early
tremendous
voting?
fraud.
Would you
Excuse me?
prefer that your supporters, if that's the system and that's what the law is, would you prefer that they get out early also so that there's not a big deficit heading into Election Day?
Yeah, well, my supporters are going to be mostly
Substat,
people
thank you
that
so much
vote.
for
They go to
resubscribing
the
2 months in a
vote.
row.
You know, the
Puppies.
old-fashioned way. It's like go to the voting booth and vote. First of all, we should have voter ID all over the country. We don't. You know, when you buy something, you have voter ID. To get
First
into
world is
the Democrat
capitalist,
National
second world is
Convention,
socialist, third
you
world
had to
is
have
neither.
voter
That's
ID.
not what that means.
You had to
That's
have voter
true.
ID.
I had to have it
But to
4
get
years
into
ago.
vote, right?
Yeah.
But to get into
Hey,
vote, you
Sahara,
don't
it's
need
good to
voter
see
ID. You know, in many places you do. Indiana has a great system. I mean, you have many places where you do have it, but we should
Do
have
you think
voter
Republicans
ID,
will go
universal
along with
voter
Trump if he
ID.
steals the election?
When you
Yes,
go to vote,
absolutely.
they should see who you are.
Absolutely.
Make sure that it's not fraudulent. But this will be one of the greatest most fraudulent elections ever because of this whole thing with the ballot. They're sending out millions and millions and millions of ballots. Where are they sending them? Who's sending them? Where are they going? Where are they coming back from? How many are fraudulent? Are they being thrown away? Are they being sold? Are they being harvested? It's a terrible thing, Sean. Despite that, I think we're going to have a tremendous victory. I saw some polls just now, some real polls, not the fake polls where they put out fake numbers like at CNN and
Do we have to go back to the Heritage
ABC,
Foundation
Washington
findings?
Post, Wall
Like the
Street Journal,
Koch
NBC.
brother funded
It's the same
Heritage
stuff as I had. It's not
Foundation
nearly as bad as it used to be. It used to be much worse, believe it or
longitudinal
not. Hard to believe
assessment
when
that
you
has
think of it.
been tracking
But I'm
the
looking
total
at polls
numbers
that are
of
doing
voter
great. We're doing
fraud
great
since
in
like the
Ohio. We're doing great in
1980s.
Iowa. We're doing great in many, many places. Many places. Then you come home, you
Like
turn
we're talking
on
about
television, you say, gee, I'm
right-wing
poured down. I can't
leaning
believe
think
it.
tanks
But it's
who have
fake
been
polls.
keeping an eye.
Last question, and I only have about a minute for you to answer.
Keeping
and
an
that is
eye on
we now
the
discovered that
instances
the CIA
of voter
had briefed
fraud,
then-President
and there's
Obama,
it's a very
on
small
a
number.
plan that Hillary Clinton concocted to
percentage shot like
distract from her email server scandal and concoct this Russia hoax. We also learned that she paid. We already knew she paid for the dirty Russian misinformation dossier, and that the source for Steele's dossier was a known Russian operative for over 10 years. And they still went forward with it. In the 40 seconds we have left, your reaction to this new news?
We caught them spying on our campaign. This is treason. We caught them trying to take down a duly elected administration/president.
Duly
We have all the
elected.
evidence down now. We have to see what the law enforcement's going to do with it. But we caught them spying.
I can just
as
see him
sure
like
as you're sitting there,
duly
I assume you're sitting.
elected.
But as
I'm
sure
sitting.
as you're
Yeah.
sitting there, we caught them.
And the fraudsters are
spying on our
Republicans
campaign.
usually.
You know that almost better than anybody. And
You
it's
were
something
right.
when you see the New York Times, Washington Post get Pulitzer Prizes, they got everything wrong, right? They got everything wrong. We caught them spying on our campaign. We caught them trying to take down a duly elected president. And then they talk about we want a peaceful transition of power.
Well,
Peaceful.
Even the
what
kids are
Hillary
sitting
Clinton
there.
His
said.
answer was that answer last night. Peaceful
Mr.
transition.
President,
Look what they did. They spent
If
3.5
Trump
years
steals the
trying to
election, how do you
terminate
think
a
other countries will
presidency.
view the U.S.? I mean,
Mr.
I can't
President,
imagine
we wish you
having.
and the
I mean,
First
I feel like
Lady
most
and every
other
American that
nations
contracted
have
COVID,
zero
a very
respect
speedy
or
recovery.
regard for
Very,
the United
very
States at this
positive news
point.
on
I mean,
Regeneron and Eli
I think
Whitney
that
and
we
therapeutics.
have lost the confidence
and
of so many of our
Operation Warp
foreign
Speed
allies
seems
at
to
this
be
point.
moving along nicely, and we pray that.
I mean, definitely
really
we're
well.
losing superpower
All
status.
right,
Like
you
the
very
American
much.
empire is
20 seconds.
imploded before our
Let not
very
your heart
eyes.
be troubled. Laura Ingraham is standing by. I owe
God.
you 20 seconds. Every time I interview the president, I end up owing you something.
That's okay.
You're
It was
very generous. You're
interesting.
very kind.